All right, so let's dive into each of the types and some of these deeper needs that are being experienced by each of the types. And we're going to start with type 1. And so type 1 has this external need, fear-based need. And if you haven't watched my first video in this series, please go back and watch it. There's some context there that might be helpful. But there's this external need for type 1. I need to be good. I need to be right. I need to be perfect. Or at the very least, constantly striving for excellence. It's this constant fixing, improving, reaching forward toward an ideal, reaching forward toward perfection, excellence. And for the one to not be constantly reaching forward is almost inconceivable, almost unfathomable for a type 1. But that's the fear need, okay? There's actually a deeper longing that the type 1 has. And what that deeper longing is I long to be loved as I am. I long to be loved even with all of my flaws. I long to feel at peace with myself and therefore at peace with all that there is, right? Because whatever's happening internally, it fractals out, micro, macro. We whatever inconsistencies we experience within, that is what bothers us about what is outside, okay? So for the type 1, it's this longing to be at peace with who I am. And yet what comes in is, I don't know that that's possible. So the only way that I might feel at peace with who I am and how the world is to constantly improve, constantly fix. And then the finish line for the one, whether they're conscious of it or not, the finish line for the one is peace, rest, that exhale, that, it's perfect. Now I can rest and be at peace. You know, when we somatically talk about the type 1, it's a lot of constriction, right? We clench the jaw, we clench the butt cheeks, like it's all not right, not okay, and not even externally. Yes, externally, but internally. Did I do something wrong? Was that the right thing to do? Right? And that is the very opposite of peace and rest. That's the deep, gushy longing of the type 1. You know, when you see a baby, an infant, and they fall asleep and they're so relaxed that their little mouth just kind of like is open and just kind of like drooping down. It's when I think of peace, that is the epitome of peace to me, is an infant that's just like, and you just see, like I can just see, I have 4 kids and I nursed them all and I baby wore and I just like had them always on me. And so when they would just sleep and their little cheeks would sag and their little mouth would sag open, that to me is peace. I am relaxed from the tip of my head all the way down to the bottoms of my feet. I am at peace with myself and all that I am, the good and the bad, the beautiful and the ugly, the light and the dark. Oh, it all belongs. Oh, it all belongs. The leaves that still stay on the tree and the leaves that fall. Not one is better than the other. They both belong. And to not have the leaves fall, to not have certain plants decay, to not have fruit ripen and then drop and then decompose and then sink back into the earth and enrich it so that the tree can be nourished. All of that process, life, death, decay, beauty, ugliness, light and dark. Oh, All of it belongs. Maybe I do too. Maybe there is a serenity available to me through acceptance. And when that longing is recognized, when that need is surrounded by love and compassion, then the fear need to be good and right, it starts to relax. And the judgment toward others and toward self starts to seem almost comical. What am I judging? What am I judging? I'm judging a leaf that fell to the ground and it's time for it to die. Vanity. Vanity. It's all vanity. That's in the Bible. There's a book of the Bible that basically is like, there's a time to live and a time to die, a time to fight and a time to reconcile, a time for death and a time for birth. And it's all vanity. This desire to make things a certain way, because that way I have decided is the perfect way, is putting on myself the need of this, because it couldn't possibly be that I could just be at peace with myself and how I am and how the world is. Yet that's the longing for the one. So type ones, instead of trying to be less judgmental, again, sometimes when we focus on calming down this need arbitrarily without addressing the deeper longing, it just becomes more shame on top of shame. Oh my gosh, you're so judgmental. Well, now I'm being judgmental toward myself being judgmental. And I could just go around that forever. So instead of saying, oh, just become more chill, just be okay with things being wrong, just stop being so judgmental. What if, type ones, we just started by asking, why do I think that's wrong? And why do I think this is right? Why do I think the leaf staying on the tree is right and the leaf that fell is wrong? What is informing my judgments of right and wrong? Why do I feel like I need to send the thank you card within 1 week of receiving the gift? Who told me that? Where did that come from? What am I judging and by what metrics am I judging? And now do this at your own risk, because this could be a slippery slope for realizing it's all made up. It's all arbitrary. Not to say that we can't inflict real harm on people and we can't do things that are wrong, but there's so much that is just made up. What if the tree gets to lose its leaves and there's nothing wrong with it? That's the question that compassionately looks at that longing underneath the fear and the thing that you think you need to have. What if you are already whole, but not always conscious of what has informed your internal North Star, your internal morality meter? Maybe you're already whole and you're just not conscious of what's informing that. What if you don't need to fix yourself, but you could get curious around what life would be like if you pushed against some of those arbitrary standards just a little? And we're like, hey, maybe the leaves can fall. Maybe there's serenity and peace as I accept who I am. And maybe as I accept who I am, I find this natural longing and desire to improve from a place of longing creation, right? The tree loses its leaves and then they come back. And sometimes they grow this whole other vine, not because it felt ashamed of losing the leaves, but because that's its nature as the tree to grow. What if, type 1, your nature is one of constant improvement and it happens naturally and organically and can even happen in serenity? You could possibly, improve both yourself and the world, and be completely at peace with how things are in the moment at the same time. What if shame was not a required ingredient for growth?